At the very end of the book of 2 John, I ran into the scripture the other day and it just struck me. It's at the end of 2 John, and it says, anyone who is so progressive as not to remain in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Anyone who is so progressive as not to remain in the teaching of the Christ does not have God. Boy, times haven't changed very much, have they? Because we say in our world today, you hear people say, well, they're so progressive. They use that word all the time. We hear all the time people talk about, well, that's really liberal. Well, that's really conservative. Anyone who is so progressive that they do not live by the teachings of Christ cannot have God in them. Wow, that's profound, and I think that's challenging. And that, I believe, is the challenge laid out for us, is that what is your stand with the God who loves you, who wants to walk that journey with you? It's not just about, can I have sex or can I not have sex? It's about, God, what do you have for me as a human being? In the dignity that I have as a person. You can't separate my human person from my spiritual person. They are one and the same. And sexual intimacy is a merging of both, and we can't split them off. And that's what has made it shallow and ugly and overused. That's what has made it Playboy. That's what has made it pornography. That's what has made it a recreational sport, is that we have tried to split our person from our spirit, and you can't. You can't. It absolutely is not the way that we were created. But in the midst of that, can I challenge you to say, I want to follow the God who loves me. I don't just want to follow a bunch of rules or to live in this certain way. I don't want to say that I just follow this set of commandments. But I follow the God who wrote the commandments. I follow the one who created me and created the commandments. I follow the one who says he loves me more than I could ever love myself. I follow the one who created the earth, the wind, the sea, and the sky, and me and you. I follow him. I follow him. And there's a story told of a man who was a great orator. He was trained at the finest schools in England and spent his entire life traveling the world telling stories. He was very good at what he did. As he came to the end of his career, he gave one final performance at Carnegie Hall to a packed audience. As he concluded at the end of his program, he finished, as he always did, by reciting the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. I lack for no good thing. Beside restful waters he leads me. He gives me repose. All the way through to the end, where it says, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come. As the orator finished reading the 23rd Psalm, the crowd jumped up and cried out, bravo, standing ovation, bravo, bravo. And they clapped for several minutes. As the crowd began to die down, the orator noticed a young woman walking up to the stage. Dressed in jeans and a leather jacket, she walked right up onto the stage up to the orator. The orator was stunned, but he said, how can I help you? And she said, sir, if I may, could I read the 23rd Psalm? And the orator thought, after the standing ovation that I received? But he was a kind man, and he said, certainly, and he handed her the microphone. She pulled a tattered and worn Bible out of her pocket, and she too turned to the 23rd Psalm and began to read. The Lord is my shepherd, and there is nothing I lack. In green pastures you let me graze. To safe waters you lead me. You restore my strength. You guide me along the right path for the sake of your name. Even though I walk through a dark valley, I fear no harm, for you are at my side. And your rod and your staff, they give me courage. You set a table before me as my enemies watch. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Only goodness and love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come. As the young woman finished, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. In fact, if you would have looked closely, you would have seen tears in the corners of some people's eyes. The orator was stunned by this reaction. And he turned to her and he said, I don't understand. I read the 23rd Psalm with perfection, pausing in all of the right places, inflections in all of the appropriate spots. And I received a standing ovation. And you stumbled over some of the words and didn't pause where appropriate, didn't use any kind of dramatic conclusion. And yet the response that you receive is overwhelming. And I don't understand why. And the woman looked at the orator and she said this, you see, sir, here is the difference. You know the psalm, but I know the shepherd. You know the psalm, sir, but I know the shepherd. Men and women, that's what it's about. It's about knowing the shepherd, not just the psalm, not just the rules, not just the ideas, but the lover of our souls, the shepherd, the one who wants to walk the journey with us. Thank you for letting me share with you. I appreciate it. I would love to open it up now to questions, comments, no snide remarks, if that's okay. So if you have a question or a comment and you want to just come up here.